The first real warning sign wasn't the barely warm coffee or the quirky calendar glitches that caused Melanie's quarterly review to be postponed not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. No, it was when the CEO, Rick, with his over-whitened smile and frat boy startup energy, called her Melissa in front of the entire boardroom. She corrected him. Twice. Still, he grinned, patted her shoulder like she was a high-functioning barista, and said, "Your squad's on fire this quarter, missy. Keep crankin' duh." Melanie Ray had spent the last 11 years dragging the company's flailing sales team out of the dark ages and into modernity. When she arrived, their CRM system was barely a step above an Excel sheet, and most of the reps thought lead scoring was a fantasy football metric. Now, her lean 7-person team was responsible for 60% of the company's projected Q4 revenue, real deals, long-term contracts already signed and sealed. She wasn't into motivational hype or flashy productivity board. Melanie built trust, secured deals, and led a team that actually respected the grind, not the kind romanticized with Slack emojis and jargon, but real late-night hustle. Just last week, they closed a $4.2 million deal with a healthcare SaaS client, the kind Oracle was gunning for, and Rick still treated her like a team mascot. Meanwhile, her crew was electric. Mark shattered his targets, clocking in at 160% of quota. Asa had finally cracked open the elusive automotive vertical. Even junior rep Casey had landed a scorching lead that nearly steamed through the pipeline. Morale was high. Not in that vision board, speak it into existence kind of way, real, grounded optimism. Someone mentioned seeing the CFO order a second bottle of wine at the investor dinner. Another swore they overheard Rick talking about record-setting bonuses at the last offsite. Melanie wasn't foolish. She didn't expect trophies or rooftop champagne. But she did expect her performance bonus. It was right there in her renegotiated contract. Hard numbers, locked percentages, approved by Rick himself. She had every bit of documentation. Emails, internal memos, even a Slack thread where Rick himself had typed, "Let's properly reward success this time." So yeah, for once, she let herself believe. Just a little. She booked their favorite happy hour spot for Friday. Ordered upgraded laptop stands to replace the wobbly ones in the bullpen. Even joked about finally fixing the haunted garbage disposal at home that growled like it housed a raccoon spirit and once spit out a spoon from 2009. But under all the spreadsheets, late-night Slack alerts, and back-to-back client calls, something didn't feel right. Darren, her peer in ops, had started poking around with oddly specific questions about pipeline dependencies. HR did a surprise audit on PTO logs. Someone mistakenly CC'd her on an internal email about resource optimization at leadership levels. She brushed it off as fatigue. Burnout. The natural paranoia of working 80-hour week. After all, surely they weren't that short-sighted. Not when she was practically holding the entire revenue engine in her hand. Friday arrived. All-hands meeting. Melanie wore black, not for dramatic effect, but because it anchored her. Her team sat near the front, whispering guesses about what kind of bonuses might drop. Asa hoped for Delta Sky Miles. Mark said he'd take bourbon. Casey just begged for anything that wasn't another peeling logo water bottle. No one was ready for what happened next. Rick strutted on stage like a TED Talk dropout, clicked to the final slide of his deck. In Comic Sans, no less. Bold letters read, "Teamwork tastes better with pizza." And then he said it. "This year's bonus is a pizza party." Silence. Then hesitant, confused giggles. Melanie didn't laugh. Neither did her team. Mark looked like the floor might open up and swallow him. Asa's face was unreadable. Casey looked like a kid whose dog just got rehomed on Christmas Eve. Melanie's stomach bottomed out. This wasn't an HR blunder or awkward phrasing. This was calculated. A betrayal with a side of mozzarella. And something ancient, primal, settled inside her chest. Not shock, not grief. Something far more dangerous. Resolve. Rick didn't stop. He kept going like a cruise ship DJ, arms wide like he was blessing the room with unlimited breadstick. Let's celebrate everyone's hard work, he beamed, with hot zie and good vibes. She didn't blink. She didn't flinch. Just listened. Calculated. Rage wouldn't help. But clarity? That would. Her team wasn't looking at Rick anymore. They were watching her. Mark's jaw was clenched so tight the vein in his temple pulsed. Casey looked hollowed out. Asa was blinking fast, trying to keep composure. These were the same people who missed holidays, ran demos from grocery store parking lots, canceled honeymoons, and this was the thanks they got. Not medals. Not even real bonuses. Just discount pizza. Rick smacked the mic. Don't worry, folks, we got options. Veggie, gluten-free, even meat lovers. We know how hard y'all worked. Melanie wanted to ram that mic straight through his cap teeth. But she stayed still. Stillness was power now. This wasn't a one-off failure, it was a long con. The red flags had been waving for months. Blocked budget approvals, delayed commissions, vague language in performance reviews. They'd laid the groundwork for this undercut, like cowards too afraid to fire her outright. Then Rick added the cherry on top. Hey, he chuckled, pizza's better than those inflation-busted gift cards, right? More laughter. Weak this time. Melanie turned her head slowly toward Darren. He was whispering to CFO Isla, who deliberately avoided her gaze, staring ahead like she was waiting for a bomb to go off behind glass. Melanie's hands remained steady. Her pulse throbbed, but her expression didn't move. She scanned the room like she was gathering evidence. The meeting dragged on with weak slides, droning synergy talk, and shallow updates. Melanie and her team didn't take note. They didn't need to. Instead, Melanie opened her phone and found an email that had been sitting in her inbox for months. It was from Sarah Lynn, the VP of Sales at Atrix Dynamics, the rival company that tried to poach her last summer. The subject line read, "When you're ready to be treated like a partner, not a prop." Back then, Melanie had ignored it. Loyalty had meant something. Back then. Her finger hovered over the message. She didn't respond, not yet. Not while she was still surrounded by traitors and spineless executives clapping for cold pizza. No, this required finesse. Precision. They'd handed her every tool she needed for a clean, surgical heist, and she'd thank them later for making it so easy. If this was war, Melanie had already won the first battle. They just hadn't realized it yet. The Monday after Pizzagate, Melanie played it by the book. She drafted a crisp, professional email to HR. Subject: bonus structure clarification. No caps lock. No passive aggression. Just a list of bullet points. Her Q4 numbers, her signed comp agreement, and a cordial request for a formal discussion about the discrepancies between expected and delivered compensation. She hit send. The reply came fast. Thank you for your feedback. Your concern has been logged. Logged. Like she was a customer. A simple toner complaint. Fine. But Melanie decided to escalate, directly messaged Darren. Brief, courteous. Hey, I'd like to connect briefly about Q4 compensation. Let me know what works for you this week. No response. Not even a read receipt. Just silence. She waited 2 full days, followed up again. Still nothing. By Wednesday, she spotted Darren in the company cafeteria, cackling over Caesar salads and Topo Chicos with a bunch of junior engineers. She didn't interrupt, just lingered one table away, pretending to refill her water bottle. And that's when she heard it. Honestly, Melanie's team? They're basically just overpaid cheerleaders. Darren chuckled, stabbing at his salad like it owed him rent. Yeah, they close deals, sure. But you'd think they reinvented capitalism the way they parade around. Bunch of entitled little revenue princesses. Someone at the table laughed nervously. One engineer awkwardly took a long sip of his drink. Melanie didn't flinch. No tears. No reaction. Just turned and walked away, palms cold, jaw so tight her molars ached. That was the moment. Not the pizza party, not the unanswered messages. That sentence. Overpaid cheerleaders. As if she hadn't fought tooth and nail for this company. As if she hadn't led through layoffs, trained Darren's own nephew during his rough first quarter, or taken client calls mid-stomach flu back in 2021. As if her team weren't the only reason the company had survived COVID without cratering. Back in her office, she opened a new folder on her desktop. Labeled it Insurance. She started with sales dashboards. Screenshots of every one deal, every revenue forecast that exceeded projections, every glowing client review. Then came Slack threads. Rick calling her mission critical last November, the VP of product begging to loop her team in because they actually deliver. Next, she downloaded both versions of her compensation plan, the original PDF and Rick's less formal but legally binding email after the healthcare deal closed. She even dug up a time-stamped voice note from Rick on WhatsApp. We really need to figure out how to show our appreciation for what you pulled off. You're the future here. Rick, you polished little snake. By Thursday, she had assembled a 22-page digital arsenal. Receipts, files, messages, organized, tagged, encrypted in 2 cloud backups and on a flamingo-shaped USB her daughter once gave her as a joke. And then she did what she'd been avoiding. She opened the old email from Sarah Lynn at Atrix Dynamics, the rival firm that tried to poach her last July, back when Rick distracted her with a fake title bump and phantom equity. Her reply? Still interested? Sarah's response came 7 minutes later. Absolutely. You and anyone you bring. Full autonomy. 25% bump. Let's talk. Melanie sat still, not smiling, just breathing. Like someone surfacing after holding their breath for too long. She didn't tell her team. Not yet. She started laying the groundwork. Client calls were redirected to her personal phone. She casually encouraged her reps to keep copies of key files, just in case. During venting sessions, she listened closely. She started asking, if you could design your dream job, what would it look like? They answered quickly. Too quickly. She wasn't rushing this. Not rebellion. Not yet. This was intel gathering. Cold. Precise. Tactical. Let them enjoy their discount pizza. She was building an army. Mark cracked first. After a perfect pitch went inexplicably cold, one that had all the signs of a win. He leaned back, frustration in his shoulders. Feels like they're trying to phase us out from within. Asa chimed in. They keep tweaking the comp plans and burying the updates in 5-click policy mazes. I had to Google discretionary adjustment protocol just to understand what they skimmed this time. Even Casey, the ever-eager rookie who once wore a tie to impress the product team, mumbled. If another company called me today, I'd take the meeting. No questions. Melanie didn't react. She logged it. Who was just venting? Who was searching for a lifeboat? That night, she didn't bother turning on the lights. Ate cold leftovers straight from the Tupperware. Her husband Jake walked in, kissed her forehead. You've been staring at the microwave clock for 10 minutes. She didn't give him the full plan. Not yet. But she told him about the pizza, the HR stonewall, Darren's insults, the mysterious dimming of her team's achievements. And how, when she'd tried to check her Q4 bonus projection in the system, it redirected to a 4004 error page. Jake listened quietly, like always. Mel, are you sure this isn't burnout talking? Her voice was steady. I'm sure. They want me out. They're just trying to make me pull the trigger first. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. So what? You're thinking of walking? She nodded. Not just me. He paused. Then don't make it petty. Make it perfect. She pulled out her yellow legal pad. 5 columns. Legal, clients, comms, team, timing. She tapped comms. Already moved key clients to my phone. They expect me, not Darren. He couldn't manage a vending machine without causing a panic. Legal. She'd reviewed her contract twice. Even had her cousin's husband, a lawyer in Austin, look it over. The non-compete was weak. It only applied to active clients for 90 days. And her reporting line? still officially separate from Central Sales Op. On LinkedIn, she quietly changed her status to open to strategic growth roles. No big splash, just a pulse. Within 24 hours, recruiters were circling. A former colleague at a fintech unicorn even invited her for coffee. She didn't leap. She tested. She asked Mark casually if he had a backup of the onboarding playbook. He had 5. Told Asa some firms were offering profit sharing. Asa said, "Profit sharing? Must be nice to work at a place with shame." Casey? She floated a hypothetical relocation. He shrugged. "Only if I got to follow a manager who actually gives a damn." Her team had loyalty. But they also had risk, mortgages, loans. Casey's dad was in chemo. Asa was supporting her sister's tuition. Mark had twins. So she built a landing strip. Atrix was fully on board. Sarah Lynn arranged a private meeting with HR and legal. They'd take all 7 reps immediately. Comp increases. Signing bonuses. Remote-first autonomy. But only when Melanie gave the word. She didn't. Not yet. She drafted resignation letters for each rep, staggered delivery, personalized. She prepared transition emails to clients, scheduled to send 30 minutes after the resignations. Then she scrolled through her inbox, past Darren's latest team alignment initiative, until she found it. All hands Friday, 10 a.m. Let's celebrate our Q4 wins. Perfect. She smiled, just a flicker. Enough to taste the revenge. Let them set the table for a pizza party. She was prepping a controlled demolition that would set fire to their Q1 target. The HR reply came quietly, 7:13 a.m. on a Tuesday, wedged between a Motivation Monday newsletter and a sign-up form for goat yoga. Subject: bonus structure clarification. Hi Melanie, thanks for your inquiry. After thorough review of Q4 performance and compensation policies, we've confirmed that all payouts align with our internal equity standard. Please let us know if you'd like a refresher on how discretionary metrics are applied. Best, Shelby. Discretionary metric. Corporate code for, because we said so. Melanie stirred her coffee slowly, the metal spoon clinking against the mug like a soft warning bell. Equity standards, they said. Her team had over-delivered on every quantifiable metric. Metrics that would make Salesforce cry into their dashboard. There was no ambiguity. Not unless they were manufacturing it. Later that day, Darren's name lit up in her inbox. The toner complaint was minor. Annoying but routine. Then she escalated. Politely pinged Darren for a quick conversation about her Q4 compensation. Short, respectful. Waited. No reply. Not even a read receipt. Just silence. 48 hours later, she followed up. Still nothing. Then, on Wednesday, she saw Darren in the cafeteria. Loud, laughing with a trio of junior engineers over Caesar salads and sparkling water. She didn't interrupt. Just hovered nearby, refilling her water like she had a reason to stand there. That's when she heard it. Melanie's crew? They're like overpaid cheerleaders. Darren chuckled, jabbing at his salad like it had wronged him. Sure, they close deals. But you'd think they discovered gravity the way they act. Strutting around like little revenue princesses. His buddy laughed. One of the engineers took a long, awkward sip of his drink. Melanie didn't flinch. No visible reaction. No tears, no wide eyes. She just turned and left, hands cold, jaw so tight it felt like it could splinter her molars. That was it. Not the silence. Not the spreadsheet. That sentence. That dismissal. As if she hadn't kept the company afloat through 3 hiring freezes. As if she hadn't mentored Darren's nephew into quota for the first time. As if she hadn't taken client calls through a stomach virus in 2021. As if her team hadn't carried revenue through COVID when every other department buckled. Back at her desk, she created a folder. Labeled it, Insurance. Into it went her dashboards, every closed deal, forecast, glowing client review. Slack logs, screenshots where Rick had called her irreplaceable. Emails from the VP of product asking her to stay involved because your team actually gets sh*t done. She dug up the original comp plan and Rick's follow-up, less formal but binding adjustment from the healthcare win. Even the WhatsApp voice memo where Rick said, "We've got to show appreciation for what you pulled off. You're the future here." By Thursday, the folder was 22 pages deep. Color-coded. Backed up twice. Copied to a pink flamingo USB keychain, a gag gift from her daughter, just in case. Then she reopened that email from Sarah Lynn over at a Trix Dynamic. The one she'd ghosted last summer, right after Rick handed her a vanity title and a flimsy equity mirage. Her reply now was one line, "Still interested?" Sarah's response came 7 minutes later. "Absolutely. Bring your team. Full autonomy. 25% raise. Let's talk." Melanie stared at the message. Didn't smile. Just exhaled. Like someone finally coming up for air after treading water too long. She didn't tell anyone. Not yet. But she started shifting. Quietly. Client check-ins moved to her personal number. She encouraged reps to save important files. Just in case. She listened harder in 1:1s, asked open-ended questions. If you could build your dream workplace, what would it have? They always answered quickly. She wasn't staging a coup. Not yet. This was intel gathering. Careful, quiet, clinical. Mark was the first to crack. After a failed pitch, one they should have won, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Feels like they're trying to make us irrelevant from the inside." Asa nodded. They keep tweaking comp structures and hiding the updates behind 6 broken links. I had to look up discretionary adjustment policy just to figure out how much they skimmed. Even Casey, eager-eyed Casey, who once wore a tie to a product team sync, said, "If someone offered me a job today, I'd hear them out." Melanie kept her tone flat. Her job wasn't to push. It was to monitor. Who was frustrated? Who was floating? At home, she didn't bother turning on the lights. Just sat at the kitchen counter eating cold leftovers straight from the Tupperware. Jake walked in, kissed her forehead. "You've been staring at the microwave clock for 10 minutes. She told him everything. Not the plan. Just what had happened. The cheerleader comment. The comp silence. The disappearing bonus preview. The broken trust. Jake listened. Then asked, "Are you sure this isn't burnout talking?" "No," she said. "I'm sure they're trying to push me out without pulling the trigger." He nodded slowly. "Then do it clean. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Surgical." She pulled a yellow legal pad from her laptop bag. 5 columns. Legal. Clients. Comms. Team. Timing. Legal. She'd reviewed her contract twice. Had an employment lawyer in Austin, cousin's husband, review it too. The non-compete was flimsy. 90 days, only active clients. Clients, she owned the relationship. Technically, the team reported to her, not sales op. She had it in writing. Comms, quiet LinkedIn update. Open to new roles. Within a day, she got 4 recruiter DMs and a coffee request from a friend now running sales at a growing fintech. Timing. All hands scheduled for Friday, 10 a.m. Subject line. "Let's celebrate our Q4 wins." She smirked. Perfect. Still, she waited. Tested her people. She asked Mark if he still had the onboarding playbook saved. 5 copies, he said. To Asa, she floated the idea of flexible quotas and profit sharing. Would be nice to work somewhere with basic human decency, Asa muttered. Even Casey got a test. She asked if he'd ever consider relocating. "Only if I could follow a manager who actually gives a damn," he replied. Loyalty. It was there. She saw it. But so were the risks. Mortgages. Student loans. Sick family members. She wouldn't lead them into free fall. Not without a parachute. So she built one. Sarah Lynn at a Trix was all in. They'd take all 7 reps. Immediate start. Better pay. Sign-on bonuses. Remote first. But Melanie had to give the green light. She didn't. Not yet. Instead, she built a departure strategy down to the minute. Drafted resignation letters, personalized, staggered. Created email templates for client transitions. Scheduled everything for the all-hands. Then came Tuesday. HR finally replied to her comp inquiry. Subject: bonus clarification. Thanks for reaching out, Melanie. After review, payouts fall within our internal equity framework. Let us know if you'd like a refresher on how discretionary metrics are applied. Discretionary metric. Translation: because we said so. Later that day, a new email. Darren. Subject line: quick note team collaboration. Mel, excited to support this next phase. We've asked Jackson from BizDev to shadow you for a few weeks, help with knowledge transfer. Let us know if you need anything. Jackson. The sugar-caffeinated intern in khakis who once asked if gross margin was like before or after taxes? This wasn't collaboration. It was containment. A pre-takeover scout. Melanie didn't reply. She forwarded the email to her personal inbox, deleted it from her work account, emptied the trash. No blinking. No twitch. She'd passed fury. She was glacier calm. That night, a text from an unknown number. Check your comp sheet. You didn't get what you earned. Ask Isla. Melanie logged into the system. Now password protected. Strange. She bypassed the redirect, got in. The numbers didn't lie. $42,800. She ran the math 3 times. Her records showed $69,000 earned. They'd skimmed nearly 40%. She didn't explode. Didn't share the file. Just coached. Quietly. She began embedding survival training into 1:1. If leadership changed tomorrow, what would you need to stay effective? If you had to rebuild the team, what would you do differently? They didn't even notice it was rehearsal. Mark began backing up contact lists. Asa asked how to phrase poachable value metrics on a resume. Casey, bless him, said, "If this place goes under, I want to follow you, Mel." Her chest tightened. Then she said, businesslike, "Good instincts." That Friday night, the meeting wasn't on any calendar. Just a text thread. 7 names. Rooftop bar. 8:30 p.m. Melanie arrived first. 7 beers, 1 ginger ale. Sat in the corner booth, laptop bag at her feet. Inside it, printouts, spreadsheets, proof. One by one, they arrived. Mark. Asa. Casey. Nora. Dev. Sean. Jules, fashionably late, dramatic as always. She let them settle. Then, "This is off the record. You can walk anytime. But I need to show you something." They listened. The underpayment. The gaslighting. The spying. The audio. Darren's voice, clear enough to haunt. Then the comp sheet. Yellow highlights. Red circles. $69,150 earned. $42,800 paid. "They're stealing from us." Silence. Then Mark. "What do you need from us?" "Your trust." "Done," Asa said. Nora spoke next. "I'm out. They pulled my maternity accommodations. I'm done." "Jules, just tell me when." "My chair's already in my trunk." One by one, they said yes. When she got home, Melanie didn't rest. She typed her resignation. Sharp. Clean. Subject: Resignation, effective immediately. Rick, please accept this as notice of my resignation. Effective Friday, 10:05 a.m. Future correspondence may be sent to my personal email. She saved it. Scheduled it to send 5 minutes after Rick's opening speech ended. 5 seconds before her Q4 remarks were due to start. She rehearsed her speech not in her office, but in the garage. Cold. Quiet. Uninterrupted. "I want to start by thanking the people who made Q4 possible." Beat. Pivot. But gratitude without integrity is just lipstick on a lie. Every line cut with intent. Measured. Steady. She wasn't mad. She was inevitable. Her lawyer reviewed every piece. No liability. Just noise. Good. She liked that. Let them scream. Then the final pieces. Polished client docs. Exit strategy. Emails queued to go 30 minutes after the resignation. Everything warm, confident, forward-looking. The resignation letters, timed like detonations. Melanie smiled. Not because it was over, but because everything was ready. Just departure. The night before the all-hands, Melanie packed her office in silence. Elevator jazz buzzed in the background like a clueless lullaby. A few framed photos, her backup drive, the pink flamingo USB, her notepad. She left the company laptop behind, fully wiped, logged out, a sticky note on the screen. Good luck. Friday morning, she dressed like intention. Not flashy, not meek. A pressed navy blazer, black top, clean lines. No jewelry. No statement. Just presence. Jake, watching her from the kitchen, said, "You're calm." She nodded. "Because it's finished." She drove in. Parked in her usual spot. Walked through the building like it was any other end-of-week check-in. No one blinked. No one saw it coming. At 9:56 a.m., Rick strutted up front, radiating smug in waves, cracking a tone-deaf joke about surprise success and record profit. Her phone buzzed. 10:05 a.m. scheduled message sent. Her resignation was already in their inboxes. She stood still, listening to him deliver his victory lap. Hollow words. Performed pride. Then he gestured. Now, the woman who made Q4 magic happen. Melanie Reyes, everyone, give it up. She walked to the mic. 5 minutes, that was all she needed. Rick thought he was giving her the spotlight. Really, he was handing her the match. The whole thing was being live-streamed, naturally. The company's signature move. Perform leadership for a remote crowd while the real rot stayed off camera. Rick stood too tall beside his deck slides, looking like someone who'd just won best spreadsheet in a category no one cared about. Biggest Q4 in company history, he grinned. All thanks to teamwork. No individual stars here, just one big family win. Click. Next slide. A cartoon pizza slice in sunglasses. Polite chuckles, confused murmurs. Revenue feeds us. Culture feeds the soul, Rick said and winked. And speaking of soul, he added, Melanie, come tell us what teamwork means to you. Scattered applause. She stood, straightened her jacket. Walked forward like a surgeon prepped for the final cut. Took the mic deep breath. I want to begin by thanking my team, she said. Her voice was still, clear. Not just for their performance, which was remarkable, but for their ethics, their consistency, their respect for the work and each other. They did everything that was asked of them and more. Without shortcuts, without excuses, without ever demanding more than they'd earned. The room quieted. Faces stilled. But, she continued, I've learned lately that integrity doesn't always go both ways. That the people approving the bonuses don't always value the people earning them. That loyalty, when not mutual, becomes just another word for manipulation. Rick's smile had vanished. CFO Isla was suddenly studying her phone like it held the cure for whatever was about to happen. Melanie looked at her team, front row, unmoving. So as of this moment, she said, I resign from my role as sales director. A ripple of shock. A gasp from the back. And I won't be leaving alone. Pause. 1 beat. 2. Every member of my core team has also resigned. 5 minutes ago, they accepted offers with a competitor who respects their contributions, who sees their value. Stillness. A stunned vacuum. To be perfectly clear, she added, those Q4 numbers you just celebrated? The $18.3 million in pipeline revenue? That was us. Our accounts. Our renewals. Our strategies. And we're taking all of that with us. No one moved. Even the intern who clapped at everything was motionless. Melanie turned to Rick, face calm. Your pizza party just cost you $18 million. Then she set the mic down. Not a mic drop. A statement. Surgical. Deliberate. She walked off stage. Past Darren, who looked like someone had kicked open his coffin. Past HR, already hammering out emergency damage control. Out the double doors. Behind her, The inboxes began to chime. One resignation. Then another. And another. Precision timed. 7 total. Delivered like aftershocks. The pizza delivery guy showed up too late. Towering boxes of catered lunch greeted a half-empty room. Rick's speech collapsed mid-sentence as phones buzzed with alerts. Slack channels locked. Calendar invites vanished. By 12:15 p.m., panic had fully replaced celebration. Isla sprinted out of the room yelling into her phone, "Double-check every clause, every exit clause." Spoiler: there was nothing to find. No IP theft. No contractual violations. Just clean exits and client goodwill walking out the front door. By mid-afternoon, internal chat was a smoking crater. Hashtag Q4 celebration became hashtag urgent_reorg. Hashtag Melteam was deleted entirely. Hashtag legal_urgent exploded, then went dead silent. At 1:17 p.m., HR sent out a baffling message. "We recognize today's transitions and are excited to share upcoming internal growth opportunities." By 1:30, 5 more people had quit, unaffiliated with Melanie, just quietly inspired. Clients, meanwhile, weren't confused. They were prepared. Melanie had called every key one in advance. No paper trails, no evidence. Just relationship. Just trust. By 4:05 p.m., the board convened in emergency mode. Rick attempted spin. Blamed miscommunication. "It's just drama," he insisted. "We'll stabilize." The board chair interrupted him. "Where's Darren?" No one answered. By 6 p.m., the COO was quietly removed. By Monday, Melanie's old department was gone. 7 ghost desks. 1 broken printer still flashing an error from 2 years ago. A junior manager, Jackson, sat alone, looking like someone had handed him a landmine and a spoon. But 14 floors up and 3 miles east, Melanie opened the door to her new office. Real hardwood desk. Full skyline view. No mascots in sunglasses. Atrix Dynamics didn't offer pizza. They offered equity. Mark had already closed a $170,000 deal. Asa was onboarding cross-functional staff. Casey arrived with a fresh laptop and a gift bag that made him cry in his car. Melanie didn't celebrate. She didn't strut. She didn't post a think piece. She placed a single photo of her daughter on her new desk. Turned her chair to the window. The skyline didn't look different. But she did. At 3:33 p.m., she posted a photo to LinkedIn. Just a selfie. Coffee in hand. New view behind her. An hour later, she added a caption. "Lunch isn't pizza." That was it. No tagline. No takedown. Just clarity. Rick's company, meanwhile, was hemorrhaging. Forecasts cut in half. Morale in freefall. Recruiters bailing. The board whispering about mergers, consultants, liability reviews. But it was too late. The vein had already been sliced open. Melanie hadn't just exited. She evolved. She turned a catered lunch into a mass exodus, a farewell into a reckoning. All with 5 minutes, a flawless handoff, and a team who didn't need to look back. Thanks for sticking around, Breakroom Legends. Subscribe for more corporate uprisings. Let's make your old manager spill their latte in existential dread.